Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from the Goji Center. This time we're hopping into the unknown battle of the one, the only Titanus Doug. That's right, though. Finally taking a look at that big lizard dog that we all saw in Godzilla vs. Kong. Now let's hop in and see what can be revealed of this big Titanic doggo.
Today on Goji Center, our facility will welcome a new special guest, the Titan-sized scaly quadruped, also known as Titanus Doug.
There he is.
And we'll be able to learn all sorts of, seems as if we may not have a facility here big enough to host this guy. Dang it. To help us build a bigger one, subscribe! And maybe go check out our merch store. Coming up, Titanus Doug Explained. The Monsterverse lore has expanded with the announcement and partial release of Monsterverse Declassified, a book covering some expanded lore on some of the Titans, including Behemoth, Tiamat, Doug, and a new mystery Titan that will be covered here on this channel. Today, we'll be more or less breaking down this Titan in depth, covering what we already know about this scaly quadruped, and uncovering some new facts and abilities that we learned in this new graphic novel. The real name classification of this animal has not really been revealed yet by Legendary, so we'll be referring to this fella as Doug or Scaly Quadruped. These animals, despite their lizard-like appearance, are actually quite massive. So big that they couldn't fit in our facility. Looking at the size of this monster compared to Kong from GVK to GXK, these creatures can fall into the 60 to 90 foot range in height, depending on their posture. For perspective, imagine Doug standing next to this 98...
See, there's a reason I called this thing a big old lizard dog. Because it looks like a big old lizard pug.
foot-tall statue from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Yeah, these animals can grow this large.
Look at that. Jesus himself could be petting Doug if he just turned a hand.
Wise, we find that these things can easily exceed the 500-foot range, making them many, many times longer than the largest animal alive today, the blue whale. Seeing Doug swim next to one of these in the open ocean would trigger some serious thalassophobia. We'd like to imagine that these would possibly be great swimmers given their lizard-like build, and because of their suspected genetic heritage. Let us explain. In the official art book of Godzilla vs. Kong, we find that the creators of the fauna down here in the Hollow Earth saw these scaly quadrupeds as ancient offshoots of the evolutionary tree that brought forth Titanus Gojira. At some point during their evolution, these creatures would adapt better to crawling on all fours, robust limbs, and strong jaws to bite through the armored shells of their prey, and keeping some characteristics reminiscent of Godzilla himself, such as some of the spikes on their backs. In early concept art, these were originally supposed to glow, similar to Godzilla, suggesting that these too would absorb the radiation from this energy-rich environment. Their bodies, however, were not able to harness and wield this energy like Godzilla. These guys, as far as we know, are not armed with atomic breath, like their more powerful distant cousin. These are seen to be somewhat social animals, found in small groups and a lot of the time are seen by themselves looking for an easy meal. In Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, we saw Doug once again snatch a wart dog carcass from Kong. Even though Kong may have won this tug-of-war match with the scaly quadruped, the fact that it was still able to pull the carcass and Kong himself suggests that these guys are exceptionally strong creatures, despite their appearance and mischievous attitude.
There's a big dog.
Speaking of which, this is a good time to start discussing Monsterverse Declassified section on Titanus Doug. This is a non-narrated story, only told through illustrations but with lots to unpack. For a full review and story walkthrough, be sure to check out this video by our friends at Dangerville. The story takes us to where these animals usually rest, cavernous locations perched in the high mountain terrain in the Hollow Earth. Upon waking up, an animal this big is going to need a lot of food to keep it running. Fortunately, down here in the Hollow Earth, we don't have a shortage of food. After sliding down a large valley, Doug finds what at this point is probably his favorite foods, rock claws. Again, don't let their appearance fool you. Although these may be small compared to Doug, these guys are actually huge, and will probably make you shit your pants if one pulls up on you. These are about the size of a semi-truck, so you can imagine just how big all the other animals are down here. But they're easily crushed by Doug, who then gets distracted by another situation happening nearby. Yeah, just like the predator-prey relationships in the surface world, down here in Hollow Earth, something is almost always getting killed, or in the process of. This
Very
animal
common.
here is known as a wart dog, first seen in action in Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. These canine-like creatures, when hunting in packs, are a real terror in the Hollow Earth. Only an intelligent and crafty titan like Kong could survive an encounter with almost 24 wart dogs. Alone, they may not be strong enough to take down a giant ape, but something like Doug? Well,
Ooh.
then here we may have a problem. Wart dogs have no official stats as of date, but basing on their appearance and stature next to Kong, we may be having another case of an animal that looks small, but is actually pretty huge. See for yourself.
I mean, all these creatures are going to be gigantic when you compare them to humans.
Here you see that the height
They're called titans for a reason, guys. Come on now.
of these wart dogs is around the height of Kong's waistline. Depending on their posture, these are around the same height as these scaly quadrupeds, or perhaps more. These are dangerous predators, resorting to pack hunting and cornering their prey where there is no escape, tearing them up using these really long canines capable of piercing deep into flesh. With lots of these biting down on the victim, any titan that falls prey to these wart dogs will exit this world in pain. Unless you're
probably
able to
gonna bleed
fly
out.
like this oversized giant leafwing. Leafwings, according to Monarch's dossier, have wingspans between 3 to 5 feet. Having discussed how big wart dogs and scaly quadrupeds were, this one is simply massive. Back to the story, Doug continues his path in search of more food. Suddenly, he finds himself slipping inside a deep chasm. Having survived this fall thanks to its noteworthy endurance, Doug showcases
Ah, good
another
job,
interesting talent, the ability to climb very large and steep surfaces. Doug was able to use his hands and strong limbs to climb out of this hole safely,
He can
only to
climb,
once
that's
again
good.
get distracted by the sight of the wart dog and giant leafwing. Yeah, as you can see, we are starting to understand that Doug, and maybe the other scaly quadrupeds, are beginning to show signs of ADHD, deficit
Wait, titans can have mental disorders? Huh, that is surprising.
hyperactivity disorder, and we haven't seen the last of this. Just keep watching. Doug can
Go
be mischievous at times. Upon seeing these two go at it again, the best idea this fella's brain can conjure is to interfere, in a very interesting fashion, by hurling a
Throws a
boulder
rock.
that could potentially have weighed many dozen tons, an attempt to hurl it at the wart dog. But due to Hollow Earth's wonky gravity, this rock ends up falling right back at Doug's head. But this guy
Ow.
won't give up. Using a colossal branch as a sort of catapult, Doug manages to hurl himself against this giant log, sending all crashing down. This chaos once again takes form as a chase. The wart dog focused on his target, while the easily distracted Doug now finds something else to do: chase these two down. But this didn't last for long. After feeling what it's like to be under the wart dog's claw-infested foot, Doug decides to keep running. And, you guessed it, got distracted again. This time attracted by the nice warm temperatures and high energy levels at the peak of this volcano. Climbing to the very top to see what was up there, this guy wasn't the only one to make it to the top. He had some company making its way up there. The fast leafwing leads the wart dog up the mountain
I guess Doug does have ADHD.
as well, where Doug was minding his own business. Eventually, this wart dog's attention would deviate to a much more slower and beefier prey animal. A wart dog and an animal like Doug would be around the same size, meaning that this wart dog saw a potential meal ahead of him. And finally, almost like clockwork, Titanus Doug gets distracted one last time in this story. And this one perhaps a lucky occurrence that may have just saved his life. Upon seeing a giant dragonfly pass by, Doug gets distracted despite being in immediate life-threatening danger, and decides to chase after this dragonfly. Meanwhile, the wart dog's fast speed was too much to prevent him from slipping, and unfortunately for this wart dog, it ended up getting a mouthful of red molten rock.
Ooh,
This
that's
would
kinda hot.
immediately burn through his flesh, sending the poor wart dog on his way to the afterlife in the most painful way possible. Today, we learned that in this world full of horrific creatures and terrors, skill and combat ability is not always what ends up giving you the upper hand. Sometimes what you need is just good luck.
Yeah, I have
Today.
I have no idea what to say about that because, Well, I've said it once and I say it again. This isn't Titanus Doug, it's Titanus Dog. Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.